guys, and welcome to another alternative factuals video. So today I am not going to do anything that's too long or too strenuous, and overall this is just a review of The Punisher season 2. Now I did do a video about it previously, kind of hoping what to expect in terms of season 2 and overall what we might get out of this season or the show as a whole, but without kind of diving into all that and backtracking too much, so let's kind of jump into this review. So overall, I'm just going to give you a rating straight off the back so that way you can understand how I feel about it, and then I'll kind of give my reasoning for why I feel the way that I do about it. So I give The Punisher season 2, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Now, my reasoning for this is, in terms of rating, is simply because this is one of these shows that you simply watch just for the action. There is not much else to it. Now overall, I wouldn't say I hated it. I definitely don't hate it. I enjoy the action. The fighting is, I wouldn't say similar, but in terms of the feeling that you get in terms of like Daredevil when they had that hallway scene, I get that from Frank Castle. You literally watch this show to watch him kill people, beat people up. I mean, bloody, look terrible. Like, that's the reason why you watch the show. That's a lot of the reason why you read the comics. But in a lot of ways, I just couldn't fight the urges that I have in terms of, I watch shows usually for character development, plot development, the use of plot devices and all that stuff, no basic usual stuff that you usually will watch for and watch for in the TV show. And even on the CW, for example, when you're watching like The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow or whatever the case may be, to some degree there is going to be some sort of character development. There is some sort of plot device that helps the plot move forward in general. And I'm going to dive into like a little bit of what was going on, and of course if you have anything to say, leave it in the comments down below and feel free to chime in about all this stuff as well. But let's kind of get into this, really get into this. So I'm going to kind of get into I forgot the name of the character who was I forgot the name of the actor as well. See, that's kind of my point. A lot of this was very much forgettable. I don't really remember too much about it, and remind you, I saw this probably last week. Well, when I saw it last week, I probably saw it last weekend. So I started Friday, I finished on, I believe, Sunday or Monday, one of those two. But anyways, most of it was very much forgettable. It was not something that I was going to stick in my mind. I knew it when I was watching it. Like I said, I was just watching for the Frank Castle violence, but basically the guy who plays, they call him the priest, or the one who's dressed like the priest, for example, in a lot of ways he was only a plot device, and a very bad one at that, in my opinion. I feel like he had no real relevance to what little plot that they had for season 2. He literally was just there to kind of buffer or give them something to do in the meantime, because he was only forced to kind of do this mission because he himself was brainwashed by people who were in one way, shape, or form holding his family hostage. And that's pretty much what it is. Like, he had nothing to do with Billy Russo. He had nothing really to do with anyone else. He just was something to do in the meantime when they had nothing to do in regards to Billy Russo and him kind of getting his memories together and him having intercourse with that therapist and all that stuff. Like, he was basically someone just to pass the time. But like I said, I gave enough of that one. The next one is, this is something I dragged on from season 1 that I didn't really completely agree with, and they kind of changed the origin of the Punisher, and you kind of see this in this particular season specifically, where a lot of his enemies are not really gang related, much like in the comic books, where the reason why he hated gangs was because it was something mob or gang related that killed his family, whether in this case it's mostly Billy Russo. So he's like kind of focused on one person, which kind of kills his motivation, since the very reason he became the Punisher and the reason why he was saying that, rapists, killers, and all that stuff, you'll know me well because I am the Punisher, whatever. The reason why they knew him, or the reason why he said that, was simply because they were a part of the reason why his family was killed. Now, it takes out all that motivation when you have a close friend that does it. Basically, should he not trust anybody who's close to him, or should he not trust government agencies, which Billy Russo did come from, much like Frank Castle himself, or anything like that. But I feel like it really manifested this season, where they use this as a method in which to describe why Frank Castle does what he does, and when in reality it kind of kills his motivation, at least his origin motivation, but whatever. So I guess what really irked me about season 2 as well is Donahue, that's her name. Donnie, she was, I know she's traumatized because she was having intercourse and was shot in the head by the guy that she was sleeping with, but whatever. But overall, I felt like she was just all over the place emotionally, just indecisive completely, and she was often blaming other people's for the choices that she made because she felt like she was the one who brought in Frank Castle. For those, spoiler alert, of course, for those of you who have seen season 2 already, she brought in Frank Castle to help get Billy Russo after he escaped from the hospital, but because Frank didn't give her the answer she was quite looking for, that's when it kind of became a problem, and she wanted to isolate herself, or at least, kick Frank out. And a lot of people made active choices to involve themselves into this situation when Frank actually was willing to just do it by himself. And then they kind of wanted to blame him for it, even though he didn't even ask for any kind of help. But whatever, that's really how things go in these kind of shows. But I guess moving on along now. Now, believe it or not, like I said, besides the fact that this season was very much forgettable, overall, to be honest, I'm drawing a lot of blanks when it comes to making this video, which is probably why it'll probably just be like about 7 or 8 minutes or whatever like that, or maybe I can make it 9, but that's me trying to milk it, but I highly doubt I'll be able to do that. It's just a lot of it was I just didn't really care about. I didn't really care too much about the girl, to be quite honest. I had no real attachment to her. She had no real stakes in terms of the plot. She was also, I feel like, a very poorly used plot device where she just kind of was a situation or a circumstance that just so happened to be where Frank Castle was. It was very much random, and of course that's kind of how a lot of series work. But it was just no reason for me to really get into her, to be honest. She was just a method or a means in which Frank Castle can kind of attach himself to the thought of his family, simply because she reminded him of his daughter, and they were pretty close in age. If she was still alive, they would have been close in age and all that stuff. So that's pretty much what that was in terms of the relationship between them two. So like I said, it was cute from time to time, and she was a little funny, the witty banter a little bit, but overall I had no real emotional investment into this season. And I'll put it like this in comparison. At the very least, if she would have had some sort of emotional stake, at least for me, at the very least, I would say that much like how Trish was for Jessica Jones, where I legitimately got upset about her character, and that at least there would have been that. Like, I want to see what happens with Trish, but I hate her as a character because I have some sort of emotional attachment because they used her very well, and they did that very well. Now, in terms of season 2 of The Punisher, like I said, they had a solid cast. It was great actors. The writing wasn't terrible in terms of the dialogue between the characters. It's not so much of all that stuff. It's just overall the series or the season itself. This is not a show you watch for something super complex or something that you're not really trying to figure out within the first episode or 2. You already kind of know where this is going and how things are going to end. You're literally just watching this just to see Frank Castle kill some people and fuck some shit up. Basically, that's basically what it is. But let me know what you thought about season 2 overall, and how you felt about it. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe and leave a comment down below, and don't forget to ring that bell. And I hope to see you later on. Peace out.